Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this class, I'll be teaching you how to make this double flayed flans with crinoline, as you are seeing right there on the thumbnail, with standing effect. So I'll be teaching you the tips and tricks to making this stand out the way you see it right there on the thumbnail. Okay, so this flans is actually very beautiful. You can see it's double flayed and you can see the crinoline added to it, and I'll be showing you how to cut these flans and have a good result. You can see right there on the thumbnail. So I'll be sharing with you the tricks and tips, or the tips and tricks, the technique to placing your lace accurately on a bustier. Okay, so if you look at this lace, you will see there's no darts showing. So you might be wondering what happened to the dart lines. So here you can see I also placed the lace patches on top of this. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so you'll be learning a whole lot in this class. Now you can see what it looks like before the lace is being placed. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So in today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to sew this beautiful bustier with lace placement. So we'll have to start up this tutorial from our pattern drafting, and here I have my basic bodice pattern already. So if you don't know how to draft your basic bodice pattern, we have a detailed video on this channel of how to make a basic bodice pattern, and you can go ahead and watch before you join us. So the first thing I will do on my bodice pattern is to divide my shoulder seam line. Once that is done, I'll connect to the bust points. Next, I'll find my bust point line with my under bust and form my radius, the difference. So if you have been following us on this channel, what I'm doing here will not be new. So you can go back to all other videos to know what we are doing here. So we are going to form our neckline right now. Now our neckline is going to run at the mid armhole line. This is my armhole and this is the center of my armhole. So I'm going to connect what I have right here into my chest line, or I might go a little below. So now I'll place my pattern ruler to see what kind of curve I'll be having right here, because I just want to form that sweetheart neckline we have right there. So if you want to step down a little bit to have that exactly the way it is on the thumbnail, you have to do this. Okay, but when doing this, I always encourage you check your bust radius. Bust radius is different between bust point and under bust. So you place your bust radius and check. So if you can see from this bust point, this is my bust radius. That means I will have a little of my bust exposed at that point. So what I usually do is, if I have it like that, I'll just go back and blend it so it's not too exposed. So if I have to follow this line for my blending, you can see what I'm doing. So as a fashion designer, you actually need to learn how to blend with your free hand, okay, because your ruler might not give you what you want at all times. So I'll cancel off this. We are not going to use it again. So with this, I think we are good to go, because my bust radius, this is my bust here, so just a little, it might not even be exposed. So now on this, we want to tighten our over bust. This is the line that we usually use for tightening our over bust. I place my tape here, take 3/4 here, 3/4 here. So if I take 3/4 here, 3/4 here, with my pattern ruler, I'll go ahead and, so this is my contour line, the line I'm going to cut off now. So the next thing we are going to do is to replace this dart, because it's running on the armhole. It's not running into the armhole now. You can see where it is. If I don't replace this dart here, I'll have a shortage. So to do that, I'll just extend my line from here. I'm going to measure the 1.5. The dart is 1.5. I'll measure the 1.5, and that is within my dart extension, and I'll place my pattern ruler back to have that extension. So that is how you are going to, okay, so I just want to do this. Let me, because we are replacing this dart, is bigger here and it's smaller here, so please don't make it the same way. So I'll just do this. See how I'm placing my ruler? Okay, so we get it accurately. So this is the right way to do that. I'll take off this. So the part we replace is this 1.5 that we have here, and this is it. And this part you can see is about 0.5, and this is what we have. So it has to have the same shape with what we have here. So I believe this is understood. So next we want to do is underbust tightening. We had a video on how to tighten your underbust on this channel. Check the best way to tighten your underbust. So that is what we usually use. So this is my center front, and on the underbust line I'll place my tape from the center front, taking my tape around my underbust firmly is 8.75, and I have 1.25 left. I'll put a quarter here and 1 inch here. That is for my own measurement. So please go back and watch that video and take your own measurement appropriately. So I do that. So once that is done, next I'll connect to my waistline. Okay, so that is my waistline, and I've connected it right away. So the next I'm going to do now, we are done, and we are going to cut what we have. So the neckline I'm working with 3.25 by 3.25. That's my natural neckline. So we are going to use mesh. We are going to use a skin tone net to sew the yoke line. So this is my yoke right now. So you can increase your neckline if you want. So if I want now, I'll just go ahead and add maybe half an inch. It depends on how wide you actually want. So it's by choice. It depends on how you want your yoke to lay. But usually this is a skin tone net. So even if you leave it at this point, it will look as if you don't even, there's no net, there's no net attached to it, because we are going to do this seamless. So you are going to learn in this class how to have a seamless finish. So let me cut out what I have right here on my for the front before we go over to the back. So you can see how I'm cutting it. Okay, so I'm cutting through this line. Okay, remember we made a new line, so that is what we are cutting. So this is my yoke, and that is what we are going to use to sew this dress. So next is to cut through the darts. Then I close my bust darts. And we are done right now. So I just want to show you the replacement of the overbust dart now, and how it works. So now the next thing you do is chest line to chest line. Try and match it up and blend it up. Can you see? So this is chest line to chest line. So I'll just put a piece of paper in between now and blend it. So I get a piece of paper, I apply my gum to it, and so place it in a way, okay, that is our chest line. Okay, so our point of interest is to add up this part. So since I have that part, so I'll just place it in a way that I can easily add it up. So I'll just go ahead from here and do what? Blend it into the neckline. So why we are doing this is because we don't want any shortage. We don't want any shortage. So I'll take off this paper because this is okay. All right, so our pattern for the front is ready, as you can see right here. So what I wanted to show you is this. Once you match it now and you see it's ready, okay, so once we sew our yoke now, this is what we are going to have. So from this point to this point, this is together. So you have to first match it up on paper before you go ahead and sew, to be sure you have it. So you can see what we have here. So once it's together this way, just try and match it up. That's what I usually do. On paper here, you match it up. So once you place it, okay, so even if you have a little excess, just go ahead. That's the essence of matching it up. So this is it. So I'm taking my time to show you this because this is very important. So if you match it up this way, so you can see where it stopped. It stopped at this line. So I'll just blend it back again and cut off this excess. Can you see? So that is what I'm going to do. So make sure you match it up that way and then cut off the excess. So with this, you are sure of your pattern right now. Can you see? You are very, very sure of your pattern right away. So I'll match it up again before we proceed with the back. So this is it, and you see everything matches. So when you are sewing it now, it's not going to give you any issues. So this is our armhole, and we are good to go. So now we'll go over to the back. This is my back pattern. So for the back pattern now, first thing first is to contour your back, because we are going to have a zipper at the back. So from here, I'll go in by 0.75, place it this way to the neckline. Next, I'll replace all that. I'll replace what I cut off. So my waist is 39. This is 39. Okay, I've already replaced. In fact, just go ahead and replace, because I replaced my that wide drafting. So I'll just go ahead and replace that 3/4. Then here also I have 1/2 inch. I'll go ahead and replace it on the chest line. So always make sure you replace to avoid shortage. So I will now go ahead and alright, so that is done. So the next thing is neckline. The neckline width we added for the back was 1/2 inch. Okay, that was what I added. So it depends on how you want your neckline, your back to look like. Okay, so it's your design and your choice. So sometimes we can make a V neckline or whatever you wish. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll just do V neckline 6 inches. So you can make any neckline of your choice. I just do from there 6 inches. Okay, so remember that this part we are going to cut it off. So I'll now go ahead and separate what I have. So it depends on how you actually want your back to go. If you want it to have a yoke at the back, you can just go ahead and do this. You can see how I marked it. So if I'm doing this, that means I'm going to take my V-neck line to this point. It depends on what you want to do. Any style or any design can work for this back. Okay, you can also decide to make maybe a yoke line and have buttons. It's all by choice. So since I'm coming down right here and my zipper is going to start at this line, so if you want a deep V yoke line, but I don't want a deep V yoke line at that point, so what I'm going to do now, I'll just go ahead and make a round neckline. So I'll just, from that part, I'll make a round neckline to here. Then from there, I'll now come down by 0.5 to attach a button. So if you come down by 0.5, you go in by 0.5, then you attach a button to it. Then you can now make an open keyhole line, okay, to that point. So I think this serves better because I don't like sewing my zip. I don't like sewing my zipper to on a yoke when I have a yoke. So I'll have a button right here. This is my button. This is my yoke for the back. Then this remains my back. So I'll just extend this that to that point. So if you want to sew that to that, fine. If you don't want, you can sew this as a single piece. That means you take off the darts. You can eliminate the dart and it does not affect anything as well. So if I eliminate the dart, I'll retake my measurement from here at that my 9 inches, and then I will take my measurement from here at 10 inches, and now I can reconnect my back because I've taken away my dart. So that is all for the back, and I believe you also understood what I did. So you can go ahead and watch it again to understand it. But please don't forget to watch the videos on underbust tightening and our videos on the basic bodice pattern. So that will help you understand what we are doing here in this class. So my neckline is going to be high up with a button, just one button, and it's going to have a keyhole, an open keyhole line. So like I said, it's your design and your choice. And then I'll cut it off my back. So I'll separate the yoke for the back. So this is how the yoke for the back will look like at the end of it, and this is my back. So now, all right, so before we proceed to transferring this on fabric, these are the patterns we are going to transfer on fabric right now. So this is the back and this is the front. So we'll transfer them to fabric now. So the fabric we are going to work with, I'm working with a skin tone mesh that will serve for our yoke, and I'm working with a beaded lace fabric. You can see how it is. That we'll use for one part of our lace placement. I'll also work with a normal lace fabric for the other part of the lace placement, as you can see on the thumbnail. And I just because this is for tutorial purpose, I could have used a doll face satin fabric of this color. Please get yourself a matching doll face satin fabric, please, because I don't have it. That's why I'm using this color. Okay, so black is also very close for this tutorial. So you can see it's also close, so that's why I'm using it. So the first thing we are going to do now is to cut out these patterns. I'm going to cut them out right now off camera. Add my necessary seam allowances. I'll explain to you what I did. So I've added my seam allowances. On the sides I added 2 inches and I'm placing my notches as you can see. Alright, so I've gone ahead to pad as you can see right now. So I've padded everything. So I'm going to sew the bustier now. I'm done with my bustier as you can see right here. So next I'm going to do is to trim what I have here. You can see how I'm trimming it. If you have an excess, just go ahead and trim off from this part. Angle it to. Okay, so I'm done with that. Next is to start sewing the yoke. So this is the yoke for the front right now. So we'll just go ahead and sew the yoke. So like I said, we are not sewing any seam on the neckline. So it's going to be seamless neckline. So this is the yoke. So I'm going to pin my yoke now. So I'm going to sew, pin to the end and start sewing. So now I've pinned the yoke at the center line and I matched it. I matched everything. So you have to make sure everything is matching. Then I'm going to sew now. I'm sewing at 0.5, following the shape of my yoke. So once I get to the center front, I'll raise my presser foot, remove my pins. Then I'll position my yoke, drop back my presser foot and start to sew once again. So the mesh you are going to use, please ensure you are using a quality mesh, okay? A skin tone quality mesh. So this is what I have on my yoke when I turned it right now. So I'll place my notches on it. I'm going to place notches. So I'm done placing the notches now. I'm going to place my lining, okay? So you can see me at the center front line. I placed my notches so I don't have these parts sticking together. So I will secure with my pin and pin around and stitch. To start placing our lace. So the first thing we will do is to mark out, separate from the center front. Okay, so you mark out a line and you need your tailor's ham. So if you don't know how to make this, we'll have a detailed video on how to make a tailor's ham. Okay, so you need 2 of these to place this lace. So I'll put one on the bust area, put the other on the bust area. Okay, so if you are doing this, do it in a way that you have the under bust. Okay, just bring them close. You can see how I brought them close, and you can just secure with your pin. Okay, so I'm doing this for those who do not have a dress form, because I know there are some of us who don't have a dress form. So you cannot be restricted from placing your lace if you don't have a dress form. So the first thing I did is to find out what I have from here to here. From the center front I have 12 inches, and from the highest point of where I'm covering my lace, I also have 12 inches. So I added 2 inches to the square of this fabric, that is 14 by 14. So I'll just place it this way from the center front. Okay, so if you notice, you'll see we have some because of the bust, there will also always be a dart by the side. So what I usually do, I love to place my lace with my uhu gum. But if you are patient enough to use your, if you are patient enough to use needle and thread, that is the best method. Okay, so to avoid much wasting of time, I place my lace this way and it works perfectly for me. Uhu gum is a nice gum, so you can use it to place your lace and you are sure of it. So otherwise, the best method to place your lace is by stitching the lace. So I'll position it this way at the center. Can you see what I'm doing? Just watch what I'm doing. Can you see what I'm doing? You lay this part straight first. Lay it straight. Keep laying. Wherever you have the gum, it sticks your lace for you. But when it comes to the side, where you have the side dart, there will always be a dart at that point. So what we usually do is to, at that point, once you have placed this part and you have everything, you see the dart point, just put a to that bust area. Can you see that? So once you do that, you lay the inner one. Can you see? So automatically the inner one lays for you, or you lay the outer one, any one that lays for. But I love to lay the inner one. So I still keep applying my adhesive because that's what I'm going to use to stick it. So you can see what I'm doing right there. To make sure this part lays straight for you. Can you see that? So you can still give more cuts. Okay, so that's why we use lace for lace placements. Okay, I believe you are seeing what I'm doing. So when you give more cuts, it relaxes for you. Can you see? Then next you will do is to apply your adhesive on top of the one that you are going to use to finish it up. Can you see? So it finishes it off for you, and you know this part is the side, and there's no way you wear this dress and anyone knows what's happened right there. Can you see? So, and you have to also, you can see the lace we are using is a very beautiful, and it has the design. So you can even cut out the patches to cover up if you have any hole at all. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'll start to trim off what I have on the side. On the armhole area. You can see that. Then I'll now carefully lift this one up, carefully, and follow. Be careful you don't cut out your yoke, please. So you have to be very, very careful you have it at that point. So you can see our lace is appropriately placed on this side. So I'll just go ahead and stick and allow it to dry before I stick. So you can also go ahead and bead on top of it. So like the one we have on the thumbnail there, that dress is beaded. Okay, you can see the beads all over the places. So if you don't have beads, you can get a beaded lace like what I earlier showed you, or something like this. You can still achieve the same result. So now you can see we have our lace placed on one part. So I'll repeat the same method for using the other pattern. I'll still cut out 14 by 14, and I'm going to cut through the lace patches. So I will have some of this just cross over, you know, just cross over like that. So let me do that. So for this, you can see I just cut out few. You can see how I cut it out. So if you are working with doing this project, I will advise you get a lace that has beautiful patches. Okay, beautiful patches that you can trim out this way, trim out the net part of it neatly, and you see them coming up as it is right there on the thumbnail. So this is what I can achieve here. I don't have much of this design. Okay, so at the end of the day, when you lay it, you see it come up on the lace. Okay, so by the time I apply my adhesive now, you see it's come up on the lace like this. So I just tried, you know, creating something like this. So I'm going to place it now. So I've applied my adhesive and I'm already placing it, following the same pattern I taught you. Okay, so once I've gotten to this part, I'll cut up to the bust point. Okay, so you have to do this very neatly. And I also cut. Okay, so it will be advisable if it has nets like this, just cut on the net area instead of on the lace patches. So I keep placing like that. So we are done right now. So this is the kind of patches I have to lay on top of my lace. So I'll just, if you have a lace that has patches similar to the one on the thumbnail, okay, all you need to do is to lift them up with your uhu gum. Lift it up like this, allow them drop on the yoke. Okay, so please make sure you have the mesh parts trimmed off very, very carefully. You can see that. So to have a neat finishing, just try and trim them off very carefully before you lay your gum. So I just lay my gum. So you allow it to dry a little bit. Once you allow it dry, you drop it neatly. Okay, then you can now take off your ball. Okay, so our lace has been placed. So please always take away the pins. You can see I have a pin right here and it has stuck right inside here right away, but I'll just perforate here and bring it out. So this is what it looks like right now. Okay, so if there are places like this, just seal it up very carefully and neatly. Okay, very carefully and neatly. You can even cut a patch and place on top just to cover it. So I'll turn it this way so I'll be able to cut out the excess. On the armhole area. Okay, so you can see that our lace is placed. Can you see? Inside is neat and outside is neat. So as you can see right there on the thumbnail, is two kind of laces. So all I'm going to do now is to bring back the back. You can place the lace on the back, but I don't have much lace to place for the back. So if you are placing your lace for the back, that should be one color, and that should be the deeper color. So this deeper color, I'll just go ahead, the front piece, I'll pick up my lace I don't actually have enough lace of this. Just lay your uhu gum on it. Okay, so I'm just working on the front alone. So you can now go ahead after placing that one. You lay right side to right side this way. This is the center. Join the sides, join the shoulder seam line. Okay, then you can sew the arm parts and whatever sleeves and whatever you want to sew. I just went ahead and cut some lace patches and placed on the sleeves. So but before you do that, you need to sew your sleeve. So this is the dress or the bustier you want to sew this crinoline into, and this is the shoulder line. So we are sewing these flanks from the shoulder line for the front. So I'll take the measurement of the shoulder line. We are just sewing it right on top of this dress. So when we get to the sewing, you will see how this can be sewn on the dress. Then your sleeve can also be attached as well. So I'm going to place my tape at the shoulder and I'm going to measure the length of the dress. So here I have 15 inches for the front. So 15 inches for front and 15 inches for back. So these 15 inches, I'll multiply it by 2. If I multiply by 2, I have 30 inches. So this 30 inches right now, to make these flanks, I'm going to multiply 30 by 2.5. Okay, 30 multiplied by 2.5. 30 multiplied by 2.5. Already 30 times 2 will give us 60. Then half, which is 0.5 of 30, is 15. So when you add it together, you have 75 inches. So 75 inches, 2 yards, a yard, 1 yard is 36, 2 yards is 72. So you can make use of 2 yards and it will comfortably make do for these pleats. Okay, so 75 and 72, they are very close, so I'll just ignore the 3 inches. So I cut out my fabric at 2 yards. So I just got myself a straight 2 yards of fabric because I don't want to go joining my fabric. So you can see the first one, it has 2 layers or 2 steps. So this is the first layer and this is the second layer. So if you look at the first and second layer now, you can see that is actually bolder. The first layer measures 7.5 inches and the second layer measures 5.5 inches. So the difference we have here is just 2 inches. Can you see? So this is 5.5, this is 7.5. So by the time we sew half an inch, we'll have 5 and 7 inches. So the length of this from one end to the other for both of them, the length is that 2 yards. Can you see? This way, at a straight cut, I cut it at 2 yards. So note that this 5.5 inches is when it's unfold. Can you see? If you open it now, you'll be having about 11 inches. That is if you open it. So when you are cutting, can you see 11 inches? So when you are cutting, I will advise you fold your fabric and measure the first at 5.5, the second at 7.5. So we'll begin this class immediately without wasting time. So the first thing we are going to do is to prepare our crinoline. So to prepare the crinoline, I'll take off the big one. I'll be using this smaller one to demonstrate it. But whatever we do here, that is what we are going to do for the rest of it. So I'll just go ahead and open my crinoline, my fabric, and I'll bring in my crinoline. So if you look at this fabric, you can see there's a crease line. So you can decide to go over to your machine and do what? Your ironing table, and use your iron to make a crease line. So if I'm using my iron to make a crease line right now, assuming this is my iron and I'm making my crease line. So if you open it, you will see that line. Even with my hand, I've been able to make it. So I'll just place this right there. Can you see? I'm placing it at that edge. Please don't stretch your crinoline. Don't stretch it. Allow it to have that natural effect. So now I'll come in with my hemming gum. This is my hemming gum. I'll just place it on top of the crinoline. So that means you need to be patient while working on this, because as you can see right here, you can see that what we are doing here is actually technical. So I'll just go over to my ironing table, and this is what I will be doing. I will keep placing this on top this way. Okay, I'll place it on top of my crinoline this way, and then I'll do what? I'll fold. Can you see? So once I do that, I'll iron the part I folded. So we'll demonstrate it right away. Demonstrate this right now. I just brought a piece of fabric to support my table. So this is what we did before. We placed our crinoline on the edge, and we brought the hemming gum. Can you see? We brought the hemming gum, and then you close up that edge. So this is the easiest and quickest way to make a flounce, and it comes out very nicely as well. So I have my piece of fabric with steam on it. If you have a steam iron, that is also fine and better. So you can see, so whatever I'm doing right here for this particular part, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the length I have. So if you're making this flounce for 2 sleeves, you will do this for 2 sleeves as well. So you can see I'm trying to put the crinoline because I need to progress. So that crinoline has to be pushed to the crease line. Can you see? It has to be pushed to the crease line. So with your hot iron and with your hemming gum in between, you automatically have your crinoline okay. So this is something you have to do with patience. Okay, so you can see my crinoline has really stuck for me on this part. Okay, so if you open it, you can see it's sticking right there. You can even decide to also add your hemming gum. You can decide to also add more hemming gum. I can also bring on top and add, so it sticks perfectly as well. But the secret here is that you need your steam iron. So if you don't have a steam iron, you can also do what I'm doing right here. So you must not be restricted to having a steam iron before you work and have a clean finishing. So I'll just take my time and I'll keep ironing. So for this part I'm showing you right now, I need you to see the result, okay, before I proceed. So I'm going to repeat this on all the lengths. So once I'm done repeating it on all the lengths, I will show you how to sew it into the bustier to form your flounce. Okay. Alright, so you can see how neatly finished we have our crinoline. Can you see? So by the time I'm done with all of them and we start pleating, we'll start having that effect we desire. Can you see? We start having that effect. So you can see it's coming off for us. So I'll quickly iron the rest of it, then we'll proceed. Alright, so I'm done sticking my hemming gum. So I have to stick even to this point. So you can apply as much hemming gum as you can, okay? And make sure both sides, okay, both front and back is sticking together, as you can see. So I'm going to apply more hemming gum here to hold it on before we proceed. So I also did the same for this as well, as you can see right there. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to place this on top of this, but I will advise, if you have 6 inches crinoline, you can use it for this one, the bigger length. Okay, but what I have is 3, so that is why I'm using it for both of them. But if you can get 6, you can use 6 for this and use 3 for this. Okay, so the crinoline will be able to cover a longer length. So, but for the purpose of this tutorial, you can see how I did that. So I'll now go over to the machine, put this on top of this. I'm going to run a straight stitch. So once I'm done running a straight stitch, we'll now take it to the machine and we'll sew it into the bustier. So let me hold the both together before we proceed. Alright, so I'm done sticking it together. So this is what I have. Okay, so the both of them are right there together. So the next thing we want to do now is to go over to the machine and we'll start pleating what we have on this flange. So this flange is supposed to be like this, but we are going to take it this way. We are going to sew on the wrong side. So we'll keep pleating on the wrong side. So once we pleat, you have it like this on the right side. So let's go over to the machine now. So you can make a chalk line on where you want your pleats to run. You can also use your discretion. So let's go and sew. It's time for us to start sewing these flange. So what I can also advise you is to make lines. This is the yoke, so you might decide to make your lines before you sew, so you have a guideline. So this is the armhole line, and that is where we are going to sew. So I'll just sew this at let me say 1 inch. Okay, so I'll just make a mark at 1 inch and follow this 1 inch straight. Can you see that? So as I'm sewing now on the yoke, I don't want to mark on the yoke, but you know I'll be sewing at 1 inch. So I'm starting from the back to sew my flange, and this is the flange that we have already added our crinoline. So this flange that we've already added our crinoline is going to fall this way. Okay, let me place it the way it will fall at the end of the day. So it's going to fall like this. Okay, so when it's added, it's going to fall outside the sleeve, as you can see. So that means we are going to flip it this way and then gather. So another thing we are going to do is I will put this on fold, this flange on fold, because we need to have it equal for front and back. So I'm putting it on fold now. This is it. I'll put it together and I will make a notch. I'm making a notch at this point. So that will be the shoulder line. Can you see? It's going to be the shoulder. So when I'm gathering the back, once I get to the shoulder and I get to this notch, I will stop. Okay, so I'm going to start pleating now, and I'm using my discretion to pleat. So this pleating that we are making now, like I said, is going to be placed to the seam line this way. So it's going to place to the seam line this way. So if you want, you can attach your sleeve after you are done with this project. So I'll drop my presser foot now. This is how it should be, but because we don't want to cover it with appliques or whatever, just flip it this other direction. So at the end of the day, it goes like this. So I will advise you also serge. Make sure you serge or weave before you sew. So I'll start pleating now. It depends on what pleating you want to make, or it depends on what gathering. So what I'm making here is gathering. I'm gathering with my finger. So if you have a gathering foot, you can also use your gathering foot to achieve this perfectly. Okay, but if you don't have a gathering foot, you can do what I'm doing right here. So as I'm putting it together, remember we have a notch, so that notch is where we are going to stop these pleats. So I'm sewing on that line I made, as you can see. I'll just take my time. So this project is not something you are going to rush. So I'm taking my time to gather this. So remember, we took the length of this dress. We took the length of the part we are going to gather. So if you want more gathers to it, you can do, instead of times the length times 2.5, you can do times 3. Okay. So I will keep gathering it right now till I get to the seam line where I have the notch. So as you can see right here, I've gotten to where we have the shoulder seam line, and it matches with my notch which I made. So I'll continue to gather at 1 inch using my discretion. So I'll just keep gathering at 1 inch, as you can see. So from that notch right away, I'll start making. So you have to be careful. This part is the yoke part. Okay, so and you need to use a perfect yoke. That's a yoke that will give you that stability to stitch your flans on top. So we have a detailed video on how to choose your yoke. I'll also drop the link on the description box below, so in case you don't know how to choose a good yoke for your bustier, for your corset. So this class I'll be dropping the link will help you to choose a perfect yoke for your corset making and for your bustier. So you can see now I'm sewing right there into the front piece. So I don't really want to mark this front piece because the front piece here is a lace fabric. So even if I make the marks, it might not really be that visible. So but another thing I want to do, it depends on how you want to style this front part. If you want to keep it straight, fine. If you want to make it a V, you can see what I did, making it a V. So at this point, since we want to make it a V, I'll just come over here and make a mark. Okay, I don't really want to mark on it, but I'm just going to show you what I mean. I'm making a V. So I'll just follow this V line. So it's your design, it's your style, it's your choice. So I just keep following and making my gathers. So as you're making your gathers, you also be watching to make sure your gather, since you are using your hands to make it, so you have to be careful you don't push all the fabric at one side. So I will keep gathering till I get to the end now. So we are done with the pleatings. So you can see how I kept the pleating while I was pleating. Okay, so the fuller part will face this way, because at the end of the day, this is the front piece of this dress. Can you see? So this is the front piece of it. You don't need to show the seam lines at the front, as you can see. You don't need to show the seam line. So that is why I suggested you serge before you weave this part, so it will be neat for you at the end of the day before you sew it in. So the biggest one will be below while you sew, while the smaller one will be on top while you sew in these flanks. So this is the armhole area, and that is where you are going to attach your sleeve. So if you want to make a sleeve for it, you can comfortably sew your sleeve, because we stitch this at 1 inch difference. So you still have half an inch to sew your sleeve around. Okay, so that is how to go about this. So you can repeat this flounce. You can repeat it for the other side of this bustier, and it gives it that beautiful and finished outlook. Then you can go ahead and sew the down piece of it. If you also want to add a flounce to the down, you still use the same method to add it. Okay, just like you can see on the thumbnail, we have it together. So all you need to do is to join your skirt piece and measure the length of your flounce from the shoulder to where you want it to stop on the skirt piece. Cut ×2, and as you are sewing, you will keep sewing to that point. Okay, so but for this class we are only having one of these done. So thank you very much for coming to this tutorial, and I believe this class was helpful to you. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends, drop your comment on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you for coming. See you in the next class. Bye.